Welcome back to another video. Appreciate you guys always being here and listening. It warms my heart. As you know, if you follow me on Social Galactic, I have finally, after I think maybe a month now, it's been a long time, I finished A Throne of Bones completely. And if you've been listening to my channel, you know that I actually have said, and I guess I would revise such a statement, that nonfiction can be a waste of time. Oh, sorry. No. That reading fiction can be a waste of time. And I guess that's still partially true because I didn't get a lot of shit done because I was spending all my free time reading this book. And it is a long book. I think it's something like 900 pages. I have the Kindle version, so it's not counted in pages. It's counted in something called locations. I don't really understand that. It's like 13,000 locations on Kindle. I have no idea what that means. But I believe the real book is something like 900 pages. It was a fantastic book, and I'm going to do a kind of two-part series. Today we'll be focused on reviewing the book itself from a non-spoiler perspective. So I'm not going to give any plot details in this video. I will summarize a little bit about what it's about, but I'm not going to give away what happens. That we will talk about in tomorrow's video. So if you do have any interest in reading A Throne of Bones, you would probably want to listen to this video, but not tomorrow's, because tomorrow's I am definitely going to be reading lines from the book that I saved and talk about the plot, talk about what happens all the way up to the end, and also kind of compare it and draw parallels to real life. Because here's the thing. A lot of us follow Vox Day on his blog as well as his dark stream here on YouTube. He is a renowned author. He's a terrific author, and honestly, most of his works are nonfiction analytical works like The Irrational Atheist or SJW's Always Lie or Corporate Cancer, where he basically takes data to prove a point about something in real life. Fiction and fantasy is kind of like a challenge he gave himself, as far as I know. He's always, talked highly about J.R.R. Tolkien, the guy who wrote Lord of the Rings and all those books. And he basically wanted to see if he could live up to something like that and write an epic fantasy. And he definitely comes through on that, in my opinion. I haven't done a book review in a while. The last time I was reading a book, I didn't end up finishing. I'm going to be honest. That's probably the biggest curse of my life, other than all the other stuff I've talked about, is starting things and not finishing them. And there are some books in my Kindle that I start and just don't feel like reading all the way through. One of those recently, well, you know what? I'll save that for another video. But I was reading a book, and then, I don't know, I kind of got turned on to reading A Throne of Bones because you guys were talking about it. The thing is, I had A Throne of Bones in my Kindle library about 3 months ago or so, and for whatever reason, I was not motivated to continue, even to finish the entire prologue, which comes before the main chapters of the book. I never got through the prologue. I didn't find it to be of interest. I don't know what changed, because the second time I gave it a go, it was fucking awesome. So my review here, we'll try not to talk about spoilers. We will also talk a little bit about some things I noticed on the Kindle version. So I will tell you guys there's definitely drawbacks and advantages, pros and cons to reading on Kindle. For the most part, the main pro is you get a book delivered to your device instantly, so you can start reading it within seconds. You can read it just about everywhere. You're lugging your phone around with you anyway. You're not carrying a thick book or a thick novel wherever you go. And it's easy to have your phone out with one hand reading a book as opposed to having a big book in your hand. Like, I can't push the stroller that I have my kid in and read a real book at the same time, but I can do it with my phone because the phone is a one-handed operation. Drawbacks, your phone will run out of batteries. You have to be sure to download the book, otherwise it requires an internet connection. And anything happens to your device or the internet or Amazon or whatever, and all your books are gone. There are definitely for longevity, it's better to have a real hard copy in a library, on a bookshelf somewhere for sure. But I'm lazy. I'm a Kindle guy, and plus, I haven't really moved to a permanent place yet. Like when we finally buy a house that we know we're going to live in for 10 years, happy to build a library. But until then, we're going to be doing Kindle and very small bookshelves. Um, so one thing I will say, this book, as awesome as it is, it's got some issues on Kindle. I don't know why, but about 5 or 6 times, which isn't a lot when you see how big the book is, but it did happen. I noticed it about 5 or 6 times. There is like a paragraph or a few sentences that gets repeated, and it's done like you can barely tell. All of a sudden, you'll be like, hey, I just read this line. Am I having deja vu? It's like, no, that line did come like 2 paragraphs earlier, and you need to like read further. Yeah, it's just like almost like I don't know if it was him writing this or whoever edited it and put it into Amazon, they fucked up a little bit. It definitely does not ruin the book in any way, but it is something to be aware of. It happened like 5 or 6 times. Maybe it's just unique to my copy of it. Maybe it's not something anyone else has experienced on Kindle. I haven't looked at the Amazon reviews for this book. Maybe that's something I'll do here on the recording with you guys right now. But yeah, there was some like weird fuck ups. Very minimal, but they did exist. So it's likely that the Kindle version needs another look through and pass through and whatnot. The book is a fantasy book, something like Lord of the Rings that you're used to, or even the Warcraft universe that you're used to, where there's orcs and dwarves and humans and elves, that kind of thing, right? Fantasy. It is a fantasy book that is married to actual human history, real human history. And what I mean by that is that all the, well, let's call them nations in the book, are paralleled and based on real nations in our world. So, actually, to be totally fair, I don't know exactly where the elves and the dwarves fit into how they parallel to our world. They might be unique, although it's just probably very simple and went right over my head, and maybe one of you guys can comment on this video and tell me what I missed. But the Amor, who are kind of like, to be honest, the story is basically centered around Amor for the most part. They are Romans, without a doubt. They speak Latin, or they have phrases in Latin. They have titles and names and are definitely parallel to Rome. There are, north of there is a group called the Savonnaires, and they are definitely a parallel to the Franks or the French. And even north of there is the Dalarn, who are parallel to Vikings and Norse mythology. For sure, no question about that. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if I'm missing something with the elves and the dwarves. There are other groups, orcs, goblins. I guess those are maybe just unique, or maybe they're meant to be like African hordes. I have no idea. But yeah, it's basically like if Lord of the Rings and actual ancient human history of the last 2,000 or 2,500 years had a fusion into this awesome fantasy book series. So I couldn't put it down. I was reading it, probably spending an hour a day reading it, maybe a little less or a little more depending on what was going on. And I would highly recommend it. I don't think I ever talk about a book that I wouldn't recommend, to be honest. Which I guess I should, because, like I said, I was reading another book and I didn't even really want to finish it. And I read this book instead. I don't really want to talk about that book in this video, though, because this video is about A Throne of Bones. I suppose I'll do a review on that book, but I'd have to kind of be honest about it and bring myself to finishing it, which doesn't seem very interesting to me. I'm not going to lie. So yeah, Throne of Bones, absolutely worth picking up. There were some issues with the Kindle version of it, but definitely nothing that should stop you from reading it on Kindle if that's your preferred method. This is definitely a book I would buy a hard copy of because I think it's a book you'd want to lend out. Kindle has a lot of limitations on lending out books, including, for one, the author may not let you do it, and two, I think you can only do it like once or twice a year. Definitely not like this is definitely a book you'd want your kids to read when they're older. So go buy a hard copy of it and have it on the bookshelf. And it looks like, coming to find out, that there are, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 other books set in the Selenoth universe. Selenoth is the Middle Earth, if you will, of this series, of this epic story and realm. Um, so Vox has definitely put in a lot of work to this. I even commented the other day that I haven't played games in months, but if for some reason Vox Day were to put together like an RTS or an MMO based on this world, I'd probably buy it and start gaming and at least play that game. So yeah, I highly recommend this book. Trying to think of what else. Let's just dive real quick into Amazon and see what the other reviews say. And I will paste those images here on the video so you can read along with me, but I also will just read them outright. So this book on Amazon gets 4.5 out of 5 stars with 385 reviews. My goodness, the hard copy of this book is $32.99. I wonder if it's a super high quality book. The Kindle version that I bought is $8, $7.99. Let's see. First review. Top reviews. This is what Game of Thrones should have been. A Throne of Bones uses multiple characters to weave an epic tale of intrigue, power, and conflict of the Lords, temporal, spiritual, and magical. Military, political, and family life are described accurately in terms of the late Roman Empire, conflated with war among other nations and other sentient species. However, there are strands of nightmare beings woven in among the mundane humans, orcs, elves, and goblins. Yes, I'm not going to read more because it's giving stuff away. I will scroll down. It says, I eagerly await the succeeding volumes. Based on the structure of the first book, it appears that the author has a definite ending in mind and several possible paths to reach the ending. Based on the writing quality, it looks as if he can tell the tale in about 5 to 6 tightly written volumes. Unlike Game of Thrones, I was not tempted to simply skip several characters completely, nor would I be tempted to abandon the series as the story's free energy depletes after the third expansion and dilution of effort. So there are a ton of good reviews. I'm going to break the reviews down, though, and let's go and pick the 68 5-star reviews. Sorry, 68% of reviews are 5-star. 3% are 1-star. Let's see. This has to be a troll. 1-star. It's clear the author thinks he's very smart. He basically talks down to the reader. Awful. It's clear the author thinks he's very smart. He basically talks down to the reader the whole time. Not really, but okay. Yeah, I mean, these are basically people that don't like Vox Day and that have come to give him a 1-star review. This is definitely not, these reviews are just bad. Go ahead and read the 1-star reviews if you want, but I would disagree with all of them. There's not many. Highly recommend you pick up this book. And if you like it, get the rest in the series. I will say I had to do some digging, but there is a sequel in the making. It was half written or written incomplete, and it is on Amazon, but it's not complete. And Vox has told us he's still working on it. So I will definitely be picking that up when it's done. I don't want to be left on some kind of terrible cliffhanger and read the incomplete version of it already, so I will wait for that to be done. I may grab that short stories version. I think there's a short stories of Selenoth book called The Witch King or something. Also, Summa Helvetica, which is interesting because it seems to be, that title seems to be inspired by Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologica, which is an actual book by a very, very famous, almost ancient at this time, Thomas Aquinas from the Catholic Church, who was also an alchemist. So, yeah, I don't think Vox Day talks down to anyone, but I do think you will be much better off if you have even a little bit of a basic understanding of the Roman Empire and of Christianity. I didn't even touch on that, but this book, because it's based on the late Roman Empire, there are heavy Christian elements. The God that they pray to is absolutely easily seeable as a parallel to Jesus Christ and the Christian religion. So there are definitely some cool lines and, you know, parallels to the religion. So, yeah, pretty bare bones review here because I don't want to give much away. I've given kind of a summary. Actually, I've not even given a summary. I've told you about the world itself and who the kind of like the players and the groups are, but I haven't told you anything about the story. I'd say the story is, I mean, it's fascinating, and it definitely has those Game of Thrones moments, let's just say. Epic stuff. Definitely not, like, you know, with Lord of the Rings, it's like, let's be honest, guys, it's better for kids. This book is way more like Game of Thrones in the sense that, like, people die. Bad shit happens. You know what I mean? Lord of the Rings, not so much. So, you know, I think Vox Day maybe set out to be better than George R.R. Martin and put him to shame, which he definitely does. All right, well, this is dragging on. Let's cut it here. But the next review will be taking apart lines of the book and talking about the plot and talking about spoilers. So I'm telling you that now, but I will also warn you again, if you click on that video, it will contain spoilers. If you like this kind of content, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing. But either way, have a good one.